You're listening to the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast with your host, Bill Clanton.
Hi, I'm Bill Clanton, and I'm the host of the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast. And this is a podcast where I'm documenting my journey from employee to now being an entrepreneur. I can do it. I just can't say it, right? An entrepreneur. And this, again, is episode number 8. And this is where taking it step by step on how I went from being an employee in 2013 to now in 2017, an entrepreneur. And it all started out with what I call the 5 days that changed my life. And those 5 days were August of 2013. I took a 5-day vacation, and over those 5 days used that as a time for gathering leads and, in essence, pretending or laying the groundwork for my eventual departure from my job. And November 1st of 2013, I officially left that job, and I have not looked back since. If you've been following my podcast up till now, you will know that this has come with some interesting ups and downs. And also with that, I get the wonderful support of my wife. And if it wasn't for her in this whole process, our teamwork that we have together, I would not have been able to achieve what I have so far. So in this episode, I want to talk about the fact that this time around was not my first time attempting entrepreneurship. I've had numerous business ideas that I acted on, things I tried to create over the years. I had an audio production company for many years, just doing audio production on the side. But it was one of those situations, if you listen to last week, where I talked about All Pets Radio and how that was a great product, but because I put the priority of my job ahead of my side hustle, or my idea, I ended up losing out. And because I always put the job first, being an employee always seemed to come first, because I kind of felt like I always had to have that safety net of that salary. Ooh, I can't jump out on my own and do something. So, but I always wanted to do something. So I experimented with things. So I had a production company for a while, doing audio production and voiceovers, all that stuff. But still at the same time, still working the 9-to-5 job in radio. But still had a 9-to-5 job. So with that, we tried, as a couple, my wife and I tried several different things. We even went the MLM route. Yes, Amway, if I can. And I have nothing against multi-level marketing company. I know that there are some followers of mine that is your thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not pointing out anything wrong with it. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Just certain aspects of it were not built for me. However, I will tell you this really cool piece of information. So while we were, at the time, it wasn't actually called Amway, it was called Quickstar, but it doesn't matter. The point is, the one of the biggest things I took away from it was the motivation and the education, because it kind of held me accountable, and I had somebody pushing me to try to read new books. And there was always that opportunity to go out to a seminar and get all pumped up and all that. But you know what? I kind of needed that in my mid-20s and early 30s. And that's what it actually did for me. So it got me reading great books. And that was the thing. I would devour books. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. I mean, that book changed my whole outlook on business. Books like The Magic of Thinking Big. It really got me to say, okay, this is more than just an idea. I can actually build off of this. Guys like Brian Tracy, John Maxwell, all these great books that were part of the program that I was in with the MLM helped me to become the entrepreneur that I am today. So I look back at that with zero regrets for the amount of time I spent, in that organization. But like I said, it just didn't work for me. And you know what? Every opportunity out there is not built for everyone. That's why there are so many different opportunities out there. So I wanted to do something a bit different. So with this, I used all of that education that was kind of being force-fed to me and used it to my advantage. And I still, to this day, I still read John Maxwell. I'm still reading Brian Tracy. I'm still learning and educating myself because that's what I have to do. You never stop learning. No matter how old you get, if I can use the word old, how old you get, or no matter how mature you get, that might be the more appropriate term. No matter how mature you get in your journey to being an entrepreneur, you really should never stop learning. There's always something new and exciting that you can learn. And if you need motivation, surround yourself with people that are motivators. And that will also give you that added boost. But I have to say, whether you're reading a book, you're listening to a podcast, you're watching a video on YouTube, there's no excuse in this day and age for not having the information at your fingertips. I mean, I think back to when I was in that whole MLM mentality, and the internet was still kind of in its, I wouldn't say infancy, but the whole 2.0 aspect of the internet really hadn't happened yet. So it wasn't like the YouTube generation that we have now, or, Facebook didn't even exist at that time. So for me to get information, it was reading books or going out and seeing people in person. Now, if I want to go and see a motivational speaker, I can just go to YouTube. If I want to get the latest information on something, I can Google it. I can catch people on Instagram. I'm watching people on Facebook sharing articles. I mean, I listen to podcasts. I devour at least 4 or 5 different podcasts daily. And I get upset when I've already devoured everything that I can as far as the people I follow. So my bit of advice for you to take away today is never stop learning. And that was one of the biggest things that helped me building my company moving forward, has always been, there's always an opportunity to learn something you don't know, because there's always something new. And that's what's so exciting about being an entrepreneur in this time period, is the fact that every time we turn a page or we turn on the computer or forget the computer, every time I open my phone, there's something new for me to learn out there and apply for my business. But I'm going to go back to something I said a while back and a few episodes ago. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. So that's also another, angle with it. It's something flashy and something new may come out, but just because something new comes out doesn't mean that you should jump all over that. However, being educated on the new items that come, because you can spend hours upon hours, just keeping up to date with the latest Instagram features, the latest Facebook marketing techniques. And I think there will eventually come a point, and it happens to me, every so often, where you just got to turn off the education and do some work and get some action, take action on what, because again, going back to what I talked about last week, pretty much to know and not to do is not to know. So if you're going to learn something, take action on it, or at least have an action plan for it. Planning is everything, and then take action on that plan. And that's pretty much how you can grow from that point. So again, always educate yourself, because there's no excuse for not having that education. So that's going to wrap things up for episode number 8 of the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast. I'm Bill Clanton, and if you want to find me all over the World Wide Web, remember the information superhighway? Yeah, remember those commercials. But you can find me everywhere. Boy, does that make me sound older? I don't know. More mature. That's the word of the day. Not older, more mature. You can find me on Instagram, Bill Clanton Biz, on Twitter, Bill Clanton Biz, YouTube, same thing, Bill Clanton Biz, on Facebook, find my company, WWN Interactive, and let's see, what am I missing? Oh, podcasting. Yes, you can subscribe to my podcast. I'm on Spreaker, And you can also find me on iTunes and on Google Play and on multiple podcast directories across the web. So that's going to wrap things up, and I hope to see you again soon.
This has been the Employee to Entrepreneur podcast, a production of WWN Interactive.